Fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one and only Xcn, right? It's been a couple of days. It's actually been a while since I talked about this coin, and we can see that it has pumped very, very well, and it has gone up, 38%. Even if we go to last week at one point it was down at 1.3 cents, and now it has gone up 52% at one point over the span of 2 weeks. Now, of course, this week isn't over yet, so we still have some time to go. But we see currently we're up 44.5%. So big moves, nice moves. And we can see, right? The more we have obviously printed in front of us in terms of structure, the easier it is to tell where it's going to be going. We did say last time though, right? Last time, even if we actually go back, right? And we actually look at this, if we draw this line over here, right, we kind of know that, ever since we were on this line, we kind of were in a unique structure. And of course, when we go and break it down like this, if I go and I line up everything correctly like this, and a little bit lower, we can see perfectly, right? We practically held the trend lines. All right, we broke out of this zone. We held onto it perfectly. Even just not going from zone to zone, right? We had a high over here. We had a lower high here, lower high, lower high, lower high. And then you can see we actually bursted up in momentum, right? We bursted up in momentum. And we talked about this last time, right? We talked about this last time, how this was a break of structure, a change of character. And, we had a pullback, and we expected some type of pullback, right? Into this daily order block right over here, right? We can see that once we kind of got into this daily order block, everything kind of just held beautifully, right? Everything kind of held beautifully. And, if you want to take it from a support and resistance type of standpoint, reverse head and shoulders type of standpoint, you could have already been looking at it this way. Yeah, it's a little bit less obvious and a little bit less clean, but I like to look and the way my philosophy is I like to bounce off of order blocks. So we bounced off of here, right? Huge resurgence. We can see huge rally. We absolutely smashed it. All right, we absolutely smashed it. We can kind of see, some people don't believe in trend lines. I personally do, at least for crypto. And we can see once we kind of got past this point, two days later, there was a little bit of momentum. On the third day, it just shot up, right? It just shot up. One of the concerns we did have at the time was, when we did have this nice daily, pump, was this just simply going to be a fake out, right? Was this going to be a fake out? Then it's been proven the next day, the sell was extremely weak, right? We should have sold off heavily if it was going to be a fake out. And you can see by the third and fourth day, we continued to rally up. So it's looking very, very beautiful, right? Xcn is looking beautiful. And even just in terms of the weekly, we knew we're going to continue to pump because, ladies and gentlemen, right, we had this bottom over here, right? And then we actually had a higher low on the weekly right over here, right? Very simple fundamentals just to know about. And, even just in terms of the monthly themselves, right? We knew that we wanted June to end a certain way, and it ended perfectly, ended as a very weak sell candle going into this order block, also forming some type of support. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we can obviously see, yeah, sure, 2 weeks later, we have the bigger picture, but we've been talking about this way before, even in June, what we wanted to happen, right? We said in June, we wanted it to end very, very weak, right? And, it was looking kind of scary at one point until the last week of June. It came clutch. That's when we got our confirmation. That's when things looked really, really beautiful, really, really solid. Because the question back then, the last 10 days of June was really, are we going to go lower, or is this just going to, recover, right? Because this is super important for Bitcoin as well. And Bitcoin recovered the last handful of days, which is why also something like Xcn went up. And we can see we have beautiful, beautiful confirmation. So the big question is, well, what is next? Well, personally, what is next? We're looking to be breaking out of the zone we're currently at because there's a lot of structure. So if we do slow down, if we do hesitate a little bit, don't be surprised, don't be discouraged, because, ladies and gentlemen, there is a lot of resistance over here. The beautiful thing is we will smash through this resistance, okay? We will. the markets are looking beautiful. The markets are looking healthy. So I kind of expect once we get past this zone, we might leak a little bit. We might respect this zone for a little bit, but then after that, we're going to be looking to go up higher and higher. The next three small relevant targets are, 0.20, 0.22. Right, if we go over here, the next one is 0.24. And then the next one after that, ladies and gentlemen, is 0.27, because these are all of the last relevant highs. Okay, these are all of the last relevant highs. After that, the next relevant high is all the way back in February. Right, this is recent price action. This is April. So these are the next zones to kind of take out, right? If we do not really lose momentum over the next, let's say, 1 or 2 weeks, then I would not be surprised if we kind of take this out and then see some type of, bigger correction slightly to then push up higher, right? Kind of like the way Turbo did, right? Turbo is a prime example. Turbo took out the last relevant high here, but also literally took out the last relevant high in this whole entire range and zone. And yeah, look, man, and we can see, right? So Turbo is probably going to pull back a little bit and then it's going to shoot up. And it's probably going to be the same thing for Xcn if we do not lose momentum, if we continue to go push higher and higher, right? Do not get discouraged on any red days, ladies and gentlemen, any sideways days. The best days are literally in front of us, okay? The best days are in front of us, and we will have a great altcoin season. Our coins will be pumping. Now, the next most important thing is just for you to hold on. We're closer to the finish line than the middle line. And of course, you got to make sure you sell these coins eventually. Do not marry your bag. Listen to people that are kind of reasonable with price predictions, good and consistent with content and technical analysis. Because I tell you, right, if you see people, right, like let's say, I don't know the exact market cap at these prices, but let's say we are somewhere here and then we had a huge rally, right? And we've been, we had a huge rally and there's a lot of indicators suggesting, that we are going to be crashing. But then some YouTubers are just bandwagoning saying, oh yeah, guys, this is all the way up here. This is going to be projected to be $10 one day. And mathematically, that seems almost near impossible. That's a big red flag. Be careful who you listen to, because I know there's some people last cycle, when I saw some videos for Doge, Shiba, etc., that were saying, oh yeah, guys, we're going to continue going to higher. What's $1 for Shiba, or what's $1 for Doge? $10 is next. Be very careful, right? Be careful. Do not be a complete moon boy. And yeah, that is ultimately it, though, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy this. If you want to see more Xcn content, then make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, of course, as it does help out the channel. And of course, it's an indicator and lets me know whether or not people like this type of content or if they simply want to see other coins. But yeah, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.